charged the DS Instiute to do a research for us and to do a report in order to see what will be the economic benefits of the enhanced NDC in the Macedonian framework. So they're going to present quickly how we're going to proceed today. They're going to proceed quickly with the economic findings, which are very interesting and they relate many things from gender issues and also to current issues with all the what's happening with the climate change. But also, I think they're going to talk a bit with how the enhanced NDC actually helps helping the fight against COVID-19 in the economic terms, of course. And then after this presentation, we have also, I think, Teodora Grančarovska to tell us a few words for that. And after that, we'll have, after the presentation by Gaston Gou, we'll have the discussion, which will be one of the most important things today. The point of this meeting is really to stimulate the need for discussion and to talk about the points that are important. As I stated, maybe if you weren't here prior that we said that, it was in the beginning, before the meeting started. If we are not able to ask questions, to answer them fully and in the ways that you need them, we can contact you by email. And I think that was a format that we proceeded during the research sessions we had with DS Instiute in late November and early December. So if you need translation, we have translation. We will mostly talk and we'll talk exclusively in English, please. If you can use you can talk Macedonian and Macedonian, yes, not French today, because we don't have a translation for it. And I invite Monsieur Gaston Gou to talk and to present what the DS Instiute is doing in short terms, and to start a presentation afterwards. Thank you very much. Gaston?
Hello, can you hear me?
If Gaston has a bit problems, if Gaston has problems right now, we can start with Teodora maybe, for the moment. Teodora,
okay, I'm available. Yeah, thank you,
yes.
David.
You can start with, yeah, very good, very good.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. From my side also, I'm Teodora Obradović-Grančarovska from the Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning, UNCCC focal point. Let me congratulate for your work. It is an impressive document and report, I could say. I already reported to Pavlina that I am impressed by the analysis done and the methodology applied. And I found your report very useful for our current and plan activities at national level with regard not just to energy, but also to other vulnerable sectors. This is the right moment for producing this kind of document, because currently we are in process of preparation of several very important documents at national level. And our intention as a ministry would be, together with UNDP, somehow to market this work you guys done. Congratulations again for that. And to link as much as possible your recommendations with our overall development policy and economic reform policy. So I would not go further with some explanatory or opening remarks or speeches, just congratulate once again. It is a very timely report and very useful for our future work. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Teodora, for the insights. And now we can proceed with Gaston, Mr. Gaston Gou, if the internet problems are solved. The floor is yours, Gaston. Gaston, is everything okay?
His screen looks frozen.
Yeah, the screen looks frozen, that's right. I think he's disconnected from the Zoom meeting. I cannot see him here. Maybe he'll try to join again.
I'm trying to reach him.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can wait a bit, no problem.
Yeah, please be patient.
Thank you.
Would someone else from the team be willing to start with the presentation, and then Gaston can join and take over, please?
Yes, I can start the presentation. Emme, tu peux partager ton écran. Let me see if I can.
David, you can share the screen with the presentation.
Just a second. Just a second, you have to find them. Here they are. Screen.
David is trying to reconnect. Can you check if he's in the room? And
I'm gonna check her immediately.
Yeah.
Yes, he's here. He's here.
Okay, good.
Gaston is here, but I can see him better.
Hello.
Hello, Gaston. Maybe try to turn off the camera if possible. Just to share the screen. Gaston?
Non, ça va.
Gaston? Gaston, do you maybe want to, for me to share the screen and you to talk? Is that okay for you?
Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me? Yes?
It does. We can do that? Okay. Let's go.
I can hear you.
Yes, but I'm asking whether you start sharing the screen. Okay. Very good. Good. Perfect. Gaston, we cannot hear you. For my part, I cannot hear anything. Leah, for example, could you present, yes, make the presentation as long as we wait for Gaston, and he will join us later on?
Sure. Maybe it would be better if he's on a full screen, so I can go through the PowerPoint. Right?
Maybe I'm going to share my screen if possible.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be easier. Yeah.
Very good. Can we start?
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry about the inconvenience. That's a problem of technology, and Dr. Go is very busy right now. He's on a mission on the field. Okay, so that's why he has this connection problem. So let's start with objectives. Next slide, please.
Yes.
Okay. So the objective is to capture the socio-economic impacts and the co-benefit of the Macedonian Enhanced NDC Targets action, and to propose recommendation for balancing social, economic, and environmental considerations. We have specific objectives, which was to identify the socio-economic aspects and the co-benefit of the actions stipulated in the Macedonian Enhanced NDC. The second specific objective was to analyze the impact on the COVID-19 on the low carbon transition. And excuse me, so the third one, that was a little bit fast. Can you go back, please? To identify the most affected segment of the society by the proposed measure in the NDC, and to develop a framework to quantify the impact on each group separately. Thank you. The specific objectives are the recommendations on possible ways to mitigate the impact of the enhanced NDC on the most vulnerable segments of the society, including women. Also to estimate the likely impacts of the Macedonian NDC on the GDP, the rate of inflation, the poverty rate, the unemployment rate, some categories of general government budget revenue, and social transfers. So we used several different methodology. First of all, we work on the discussion that we have with most of the experts here. Thank you so much for your input. Also, we did a lot of literature review. And then we submitted the inception report to the team. And the second step, we analyzed deeper the data. And also we met with key stakeholders. And so that gave us the better understanding on the findings. And the first step, we analyzed and wrote a report. We did a lot of data assessments. We also sent the draft report, and we will give you the final report briefing paper later after these presentations. The deliverable. So as I said, we have 4 deliverables. We sent the inception report already. The draft report have been sent. The final rapid report as well that we will add based on your comment today, and then the briefing paper will follow. We have 3 constraints. Mostly 2 major constraints was the time. It was a rapid assessment, and we were running after the time. So we really worked very, very hard. we really worked very hard to try to meet our expectations. And also the data, we have a problem of some, not all, availabilities. And so in this case, we have to be very creative based on what we have. So we try to add value to what you will be, we send you. And we were very, very excited about the findings that we got. And also the COVID-19 pandemic was challenging for all of us. So that's our major limitation. David, next slide. Okay. So first of all, we define vulnerable groups. So most of you here as experts, you know that is a very complex topic. So, and we try to go to different factors. We analyze all the factors based on our literature review at the global level, at the national level. And we followed, you know, the works that have been done in your country. So that's basically our methodology to work on the factors that influence social vulnerable groups. The gender issue, which is mostly have been very well documented, as well as the young and the elderly, and people living with mental and physical disabilities. It's very important to target all the groups to put them on the radio. Thank you. Let me go to my, okay. So this terminology comes from Miss Daskalova. So she did a very good job on a socio-economic assessment of a population, the risk of catastrophe and climate change, and the revised national poverty reduction strategy, and social isolation in Macedonia. She did a very good job categorizing the different vulnerable groups. So, thank you, Mrs. Daskalova. I need to learn Macedonian. Okay. So as you said, you can see there's a category of ethnic groups, minorities, unemployed, disabled people, senior citizens, children at risk, women in general, but will be specific, drug addicts, homeless people, young people, single parents, chronically ill, people with cancer, victims of trafficking and prostitution. What I like about this terminology is very, we go deeper, and we don't want anybody to be left behind. Thank you again for your wonderful work. COVID-19, as I said, is a very interesting and very unusual topic that everybody has to be conscious about. So we used the data from what you sent us, and you can see actual and forecast quarterly real GDP growth. You have the report, so we're not gonna go deep on the graphs. So I'm sure the question will allow us to go deeper on the graphs. Next, please. Okay. Here we can see, the decline stay in tourism sectors, and it's not typical for Macedonia. The global world is very, very deep touched by this tourism sector that we cannot ignore. The COVID has an impact on the unemployment, unfortunately. So as I said, it's a global economy. So every countries are being hit by this COVID. But we can see that there are some increase, which is very positive. Okay, David. The poverty incidence and people at risk of poverty. So you see, as I said, I will go deeper, and hopefully Dr. Go will be commenting this part of poverty incidence. Okay. Socio-economic impacts of the NDC. We corrected this one, so we have 4 sectors: the energy sectors, the industrial processes and products used, IPPU, the agricultural and forestry and overland use, AFOLU, and the waste sector. That's a major sector that have been hit by that contributes to the GHG emission. So the benefit of the benefits of the jobs, the green jobs, we use the 3 scenarios that we had, and we can see the different trends based on the 3 scenarios by until 2040. The impact of the ENDC on vulnerable groups, the positive impact on vulnerable groups. We can see that there are a great contribution of the PAM on the vulnerable groups. So that was very interesting to analyze, and we will go deeper. It was interesting because we used the 63 PAMs, and we analyzed each PAMs, we grouped them in categories, and we were able to see the impact on the vulnerable groups.
Lea, Gaston is back. Do we try again for him to?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, it's okay now.
Hello, Pavi,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes.
We are on slide 5.
Okay,
We started
I
already.
can continue.
Yes, please.
So
do.
what we can do, Lea, you can continue. You can
Okay.
keep your
I do.
presentation, and I made a comment.
Okay. Okay, that
Okay.
works.
So,
Okay.
so basically, what you were saying about the social impact of the okay. So what you were saying about the social impact of the ENDC is that for each of the measure impact the vulnerable percentage of the rule that are positive for the positive impact on vulnerable group, we have the disposal of and welcome component and waste, the energy incentive, because this one will help the vulnerable group to have clean energy at home. The third one is the energy
We have problems
production and
hearing
distribution,
you, Gaston.
because the more energy they have, the less waste they will burn for heating. It's not, you cannot hear me?
No, we have issues hearing you, so maybe it's better, Lea, to continue.
Okay, Lea, continue then.
Okay, so you will respond to questions, if you don't mind. Okay, so that's exactly what Dr. was saying. We measure the impacts of all the PAMs on vulnerable groups, and we had a very, very good result. Next, David, please. Okay, so in a positive impact, we have can you mute your DNA or RNA? It is called genetic or our adaptation. Somebody has to mute his phone. Embryonic development. It is called embryology to other non-organisms. Do you know what is embryonic development? David, can you tell somebody to mute his? Okay, perfect. Okay, so on the positive impact, we have the economy-wide change in energy use. So this category includes a broad range of PAMs, so the policy and measures that may positively affect vulnerable groups, 30%, and also the reduction of emissions from agriculture and agro-industry, the development of energy efficiency of public and private building, by making new up-to-date building or retrofitting, renovating existing ones, and photovoltaic irrigation for agriculture. All of those are the positive impacts on our vulnerable groups. David? So the impact of the ENDC has also I would say it's a way of improvement. So we can improve the social effects of transition to a low carbon economy, and also in change in energy use. This category includes a broad range of PAM that may negatively affect vulnerable groups. So there's a lot of mitigation to do in this part. So this graph represents the different aspect of the impact of the PAMs on vulnerable groups. So it has been measured by categorizing all the 63 policies and measurements into 12 categories that we groups. and we try to see the impacts on the vulnerable groups. So that's you can see that even with qualitative data, because we used all each individual measured, we created a database and we analyzed all the information that we had based on the objectives of the PAM, the description, the assumption. There's a lot of information on each PAMs, and we try to quantify the qualitative data. Also, in terms of socioeconomic impact, we analyze the employment, the economic growth, and the poverty rate, and we try to measure the percentage of ENDCs measured with positive impacts by sectors. So in terms of low carbon transition plan, we try to compare the two agendas, the green agendas for Western Balkans and the TBUR. So we try to see in the different categories, decarbonizations, circular economy, depollution, biodiversity. So it's interesting to see the different plan or agendas. So the impact of the COVID on the low carbon transition plan, we have constraints as the health crisis and rising unemployment. Also, the transition plan investments are at risk. The drop of oil price and the investment in innovation technology at risk as well. And the renewable energy projects also are at risk. So in terms of impact of the COVID on the low carbon transition plan, the challenges are the increase in the unemployment rates, as we saw earlier on the graph, the increase of a job in the information technology, IT, construction and finance, the increase of poverty, and also the drop in international and domestic tourism, as we saw earlier in the graph, the decrease in economic activity of 4.1% in 2020, hopefully it may raise. The mobilization of I missed one. The mobilization of 1,020 million euros by the government to counter the effects of the COVID-19 crisis. In terms of recommendation, so each section is on recommendation. So it may be general, but we will go deeper. So recommendation number 1 is the North Macedonian government should continue its strong support to the implementation of NDC. So doing so, the other economic agents, like a private sector, households, or the country will follow. Also, recommendation number 2, the government should use the malus bonus policy to bring the private sector on board for the implementation of ENDC. As an important partner, the malus bonus policy will drive the private sector to do business sustainably and to drive innovation, competitiveness, risk management, and growth. Recommendation number 3, the household should be educated to implement sustainable behavior in their daily lives. In terms of information, it's more like providing information and knowledge more than educated, but at least people need to be aware of heating methods, waste management, and this should be done through the PAM 13 which already put some measure on this topic. So public awareness campaign should be very, very increased. Also, the number of campaigns in response to the lack of knowledge about the benefits of the energy efficiency through the promotion of an efficient use of energy by small energy customers, including domestic customers, and train the employees in the public institution at the central and local level. Recommendation number 4, thanks to Elisabetta, in terms of most target groups, it is recommended that support go to single women, age 65 plus. Of course, we would like all the category of target groups that I described before to be targets. Okay, so this measure involves all groups of vulnerable groups, but mainly the 65 and plus. So this support can be designed in form of awareness campaign, climate change literary, and financial support. In terms of heating coverage, it is recommended to accelerate the effort of generalization of the use of central district heating as the main preference of population, especially in the city of Skopje. I will never try. Okay, sorry. So this recommendation is based on the qualitative analysis that we did based on the quantitative data that we have. We focus on what will be the preference of the household, because most of the time, based on our experience, when we decide what is good for people, it never works. So we have to ask them. If money is not a problem, if we give you whatever you want, what would be your preference? So most of the households said their preference will be central district heating. So we highly recommend the group or the government, the people in charge, to take care of, to focus on what household want, which will be the best options. But we can also see other way of helping people. So recommendation number 5 is considering the importance of the issue related to water resources for the Macedonian population. It is recommended to update knowledge on the impacts of climate change on water resources. So awareness. So recommendation number 6, as part of NDC measures, to provide awareness campaign or training, special efforts should be made to promote the inclusion of women in informal jobs among the target clientele. So most of our recommendation would like to focus also to help vulnerable groups, including women. David, please. Recommendation number 7, as part of the gradual implementation of NDC measures for household, priority should be given to households with 3 or more children, as these are among the most vulnerable groups. I would say mostly the single parents with more children. Recommendation number 8, mitigation responses must be more gender responsive. To do so, the analysis of the needs, priorities, roles, and experiences of women and men must be done. Also, one needs to integrate specific actions to address any gender inequalities that may have emerged from that analysis.
Leah, okay, so we have a bit of short of time right now, and
that's
so
the last one. That's the last
yes,
one.
I know. You can see we have a few more recommendations after that. We must have it's okay.
That's the last one, I think.
This is the last one. I think we have some few ones I saw here. 14 recommendations. 14. Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can.
So if we can skip them and then talk in the discussion points. like really quickly, so to shift to that part. Thank you.
Okay, so you want me to go through the
really quickly and then start the discussion.
I can just read. Okay.
Yes, you can do.
Okay. So the promotion of the North Macedonian plan to implement must be done, as it's a powerful tool for its participation in the achievement of European energy transition objectives. Recommendation number 11, in order to have a clearer and more complete understanding of the COVID-19 crisis on the energy transition plan of North Macedonia, it is recommended to carry out an analysis of the impact of the crisis on the sector target by the CCM plan. Recommendation number 12, in the context of country's economic recovery, efforts should be made to prioritize and finance projects needed for the enhanced NDCs. This investment CCM is a climate change mitigation analytical document that is a baseline for the enhanced NDCs. Thank you, Pavlina. Okay. In order to optimize the various public policies put forward by the North Macedonian government and to promote compliance with the commitments it has made in an energy transition process, it is recommended to broaden the scope of analysis of the impact of the COVID-19 crisis to environmental issues, paying particular attention to issues related to water resources, biodiversity, air quality, as well as agricultural and forest environment. The last but not the least, in implementing action to revive the economy, it is important to adopt target measures for vulnerable groups, adapting them in particular to the education level and ensuring that citizens engaged in informal employment are also included, especially women in the agricultural sector. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you very much. So we can start the discussion. I hope that Gaston is here. I cannot see him.
Yes. Hello, David.
Hello, I understand. Yes, very good. Perfect.
Yes, I'm on audio through mail.
Yes, very smart. Thank you. So we can start a discussion if we have questions. If Gaston, you want to make comments more than what Leah did, and we can start with that.
Maybe one point, because she did the presentation the way we were planning to do. One point is that the last slide she was showing, the two last slides she was showing, we tried to see what measure impact positively and negatively the vulnerable group. And as she discussed, there's more positive impact on the vulnerable group from this ENDC. And even when you look at also the social, economic, and poverty sector, there's more positive impact of the ENDC on this sector. So it's a good thing. And that's why one of the first recommendations we made, the recommendation number 1, is that the government will continue to have the lead in implementation of the ENDC, such that the private sector and household will follow. That's the only point I wanted to say. Thank you very much, Ali.
Thank you very much. So if anyone has questions, we can talk about them. Maybe the participants that they were here during the meetings that we had in late November, you can, if you have something to ask, something to comment on some conclusions we had during our discussions, and to see how things changed and how they were presented, maybe from the participants in those sessions.
Hi, David. Hi, everyone. This is Elena from EcoSwest. I raised my hand, but I'm not sure you saw me.
Hello, Elena.
Thank you for the analysis. I think it's going to be very useful in the process. In all of the processes, the energy and climate processes happening right now, actually. I just wanted to pinpoint and to ask, is this analysis going to be presented somewhere in front of local authorities? Because I think that it's, of course, it's an analysis that affects central government policies, but it's going to be local government that's going to have to implement it and deal with all of this. So just this is my question, if it's going to be presented somewhere in front of local authorities and local communities.
Yeah. Thank you, Elena. We didn't have this in plan, but because we are trying to finalize a couple of other reports that are related to the implementation of the NDC. And in the end, we will compile all of this into one single document that will be named Roadmap for Implementation of the Macedonian NDC. However, listening to the conversation and to your suggestion, I think it's a fabulous idea. So I think that we can make an effort to present this report more deeply to the local government. So thank you.
Hi, Olgica here. I also would like to suggest that the report is shared with the gender machinery at central level for the vulnerability upon gender to be slightly reconsidered or in taking into consideration the gender vulnerability policies of the Ministry of Labor and Social Policy. So just one suggestion that I think will be helpful to reconsider gender groups in terms of vulnerability and climate change.
Thank you, Olgica. I would like to ask Elena something, because I know that within the NGO they're engaged more in the just transition process. Do you think this analysis would be helpful also, or just transition is mostly for the people that will be left without job due to some transition engagements in the country?
No, I think all the analysis that we do on socio-economical aspects right now is very useful in the just transition process, because currently we don't have anything on the socio-economical aspects. EcoSwest did an economic analysis on the alternative economic development, possible alternative economic development only for Kichava region, but it's good that this analysis is focused on central level and throughout the country, because we will need socio-economical aspects to deal with not only coal regions, but also the entire country, basically. So for the just transition, for the long-term vision of the energy strategy, and I think it's I agree with Teodora, it's also very important that that everyone within Parliament that are going to vote on the climate law and strategy and on the amendments to the energy law, and also people involved in the working groups of the NECP and of the most recent policy papers from the energy and climate policy papers are aware of this document, because the socio-economical aspect is a huge, I would say, like actually a huge obstacle for decision makers when it comes to choosing the green scenario for this country.
Thank you, Teodora. Also post in comments that it is also important to link results with the program for strategy of energy implementation. So we will have all of this into consideration, but I believe to reach further results, it will be beneficial to translate it into Macedonian. and follow up with the Macedonian version. Also here today with us are people that are engaged for the risking reports. So I would also ask them to join the discussion and give us their reflection of how can they make use of this evaluation, and if they would need some additional, let's say, more detailed explanations or clarifications on this report.
Hi, Pavlina. This is Seth. I'm not sure how to raise my hand. Usually there's something available, but I don't see the possibility. So
no problem. Just unmute yourself. Whoever wants to say something, please just unmute and the discussion.
Okay. You might have been referring to me in the comment you just made of other people, but I'm not 100% sure, but I will take the opportunity anyway. So first of all, thanks. It looks like a really interesting report. My name is Seth Landau. I'm a consultant with Eco Limited. We have been doing a lot of work in North Macedonia and in the broader region related to climate change. Recently, or we're in the process of finalizing a study looking at sustainable cooling, but also it intersects with sustainable heating. And there are a number of aspects of this report which are quite interesting for the analysis. One of the things is a question for the folks who developed the report, which is you mentioned that in the survey of people, they mostly were interested in district heating, and I wonder if you have insight into why, because that somewhat goes against the trend of people disconnecting from district heating and putting in their own individual boilers and whatnot. That's the first question. And the second question I have is actually for the Macedonian authorities, which is there's this idea of this renovation wave in buildings and broader build back better funds that will be available from the EU. And I'm wondering how much conversation has there been about leveraging those funds to really move forward with accomplishing these NDC measures. I know there's an agency that's already in place that's, I think it's in place if I understand correctly, to distribute funds for various communities, and I would be interested in hearing about any thoughts on that matter. Thank you.
Can you repeat the first question, please?
Yeah, so there was the comment that people, if they were given the option of any sort of heating source, if I understood correctly, that they would be interested in getting district heating as opposed to some decentralized, be it based on natural gas, which doesn't really exist in Macedonia, or sustainable biomass, or you know, efficient heat pumps or anything like that. And I'm wondering if you have any information as to why that was the case, whether people, beyond just the, I prefer this, as to why that was the case. That would be very interesting.
I can respond to this one. So we use the database that have been, the surveys that have been presented to 5,000 households. And the question was if, I want to phrase exactly the questions here. Okay, if money was not a problem, what would be your preference? Okay, but there were, unfortunately, they don't have the why they prefer. So, but we can go to the people who, I think Elisabetta, you know, you work a lot on this
Hello.
database.
Yes, maybe I can help with this question.
Yes, please.
Because first of all, I like to congratulate to the DC Institute for all complex analysis that they made in this report. It is very important to have in mind that this is a very complex problem, and it's dealing with a lot of obstacles considering this analysis. At most of all, you at the beginning set the data and the time, the limitation of the time, but I think you did a great analysis, and I hope with the implementation of all of this recommendation, it will give an appropriate success. And that is very important, and we could have some measurable indicators of benefits, the most of all to the vulnerable groups. Considering the question, why is these preferences of the households? I just want to say that the survey was done in 2017 years, and the most of the households that were interviewed and answered this question were categorized in the households that are using wood for energy and heating the houses, and it is and they belong to the to different municipality of the Skopje region. It is very important to notice that the most of these households did not have ability to use the central heating because they live in rural areas and there is no availability that they can use this central heating. That's why the question, and the most of them, not taking in consideration the money as a problem, they answered that they prefer the central heating. It is not only the households in the rural areas. We have municipalities in the center of Skopje who are not connected to the central systems heating, like municipality Ilinden or the I don't know, Mađir Malo. A lot of new buildings did not have the availability or the chance to be include and to be connected with the central heating system. I think that is the main reason why this is a huge percent of the responses that they answer that they have preference to use this way of heating in their houses and do not have the ability to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Theodora, would you have information about the second question that Seth asked about leverage with EU financing?
No, at this moment, no.
Thank you.
In that case, Theodora, let me also volunteer.
Yeah, that's why it's very important to market this report, not just to our ministry, especially to the Ministry of Finance and Economy and Social Affairs and Education and other institutions at horizontal level, but as Elena pointed out, also at local level, in parallel with gender machinery, as was suggested by Olgica, because it's a really huge cross-cutting issue.
And Theodora, let me also then volunteer that we're about to start a regional project to help cities in particular access various sources of financing, and would be happy to discuss it with whoever
Yeah, okay, Seth, it's not
bilaterally.
just, my perspective is that is not a question of availability of funds, it's a question of availability of absorption capacities for those funds. That's why it's very important to the administration itself to understand that in order to achieve goals from European Western Balkan Green Deal and investment framework under the Western Balkan Green Deal, we need to straighten, let's say in that wording, our absorption capacities. And the first step is to make maybe to increase awareness among other policymakers to link NDCs with their sectoral priorities, policies and measures. We are proposing, but at the end they are not maybe copy-paste in their sectorial policies and measures, and they are not prioritized as a win-win or triple win policies and measures. It's up to all of us to market what was analyzed and assessed so far, and to insert our NDC in a national economic reform program and social program. That was my point.
Yeah, absolutely.
No more questions. David, would you close up?
Yes, of course. So thank you very much for being here for this report, and excuse us for the problems we had with the connection at the beginning of this meeting and the interruptions that may have occurred. So in the name of the UNDP and in the name of the DS Instiute as well, our partners that collaborated with us to make this report, we're very thankful for you for today's participation. And we remain open to you if you have any questions and any inquiries concerning this report or the results that are coming from these findings. And I hope that we will be able to collaborate once again. And I can't wait to see the results for the de-risking results that we're having next week with Seth and Soren, which is not here for the moment, I think, but I can wait for that to hear them as well. And you're more than welcome to join us next week as well, and we will send the invites in time. Thank you very much again, and thank you very much for your participation. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Gaston. Bonne journée.